Welcome to Related Stories. We appreciate each and every one of you. Kindly like this video and subscribe Related Tales. Tell us from where in the world you are tuning in. We would be much obliged for your feedback. Let us now start. Not in a million years. Never saw it approaching. With a single casual sentence, the woman I had given my life to, the one I thought was my forever, shattered our marriage. For a time, I am on a date. I believed I missed her. Perhaps I was seeing things through another lens. I laughed waiting for the punchline, but her face stayed shockingly serene. There was only stark, merciless honesty. No smile, no hesitation. One day, I started again, my throat constricting. Indeed, in front of a colleague, her voice was eerily nonchalant, as though she were discussing shopping for groceries. My universe spun. Before my eyes, 7 years of flashes. All of it now useless. The travels, the laughs, the whispered, "I love yous" in the dark of night. I tightened my chest, closing my jaw. Not Olivia. Her name tasted like poison now. My voice quiet and under control. Let me clarify. Your husband, you were telling me, that you are seeing another man on a date. Like a real romantic date? She sighed dramatically, as though I were the one acting irrationally. As I said, our life now seems dull. I'm in need of some thrill. Just dinner is what we are having. I kept going, my voice getting dangerously quiet. She started to roll her eyes. Try not to be too theatrical. It's benign. Zero harm. I closed my fists at my sides. Olivia, this is not without risk. You are cheating here. She laughed bitterly. Oh, try not to be foolish, not like I am sleeping with him. But I caught. Her lips opened to a smile, a merciless, mocking smile. We will watch where things land. The lady I loved was gone. In her place stood someone I did not know. Olivia, or whatever form her existence took just now, slipped into a deep crimson dress, hugging her body in all the ways she knew I adored, pranced around the room. A purposeful, intentional motion with calculation. I ought to have gone away. I ought to have left after packing a bag and banged the door behind me. Not yet, though. My fingers clenching into fists, I watched her apply her lipstick. You are not allowed to do this, I said, venomous in voice. She glanced to me with amused interest. Take action. Actually destroy our marriage right now, I spitted. She bent her head, acting to give my comments some thought. She then reached for her purse and flung it over her shoulder. Try to relax. Thank you. Simply said, I have to do this for me. I snapped something inside of me. Olivia, you go out that door and you never return. She ran a finger down my chest and grinned. When you're upset, you really are adorable. I pulled her hand aside. Enough is said. She laughed and turned to leave the door one last wink away. I froze. The house around me seemed emptier than it had ever been. Something inside of me changed then. The fervor, the turnabout, all of it coils into something black, something really strong. She felt she could embarrass me, like I was nothing, walk all around me, not a number. She knew nothing about what was ahead. I wasn't going to let this slide pass. I intended to cause her regret on every decision she took. I am not a moron. Olivia undervalued me, even though she felt she could get me to accept her adultery. She imagined me as the miserable husband waiting at home as she carried out her crazy desires. She made mistakes. I started right away the minute the door closed behind her. I first picked up my phone to call Ethan, my best friend. He came right away. Yo guy, how are you doing? Olivia is cheating, I remarked, plain forwardly and directly. Silence descended upon us. One then inhales sharply. Just what the devil did you say? You came across me. That's Buddy. Are you real? Dead critical. Ethan swore silently under his breath. Share all with me. I did. Every horrible, heart-wrenching element. He was fluming by the time I finished. You really must get the hell out of there, he advised. Not exactly, I said. I am not heading out. What the devil are you then going to do? I gave a darkly sipped smile. I am going to ruin her. I desired evidence. I had to record everything if I wanted to emerge on top. I began modestly, reviewing our joint funds, monitoring her expenditure, noting every dubious purchase. I then engaged in an activity I never would have considered doing. I leafed through her phone. She gave no thought. Too confident. All of the messages were there. Explicit works of literature, get ready for a weekend excursion, flirtative emojis, everything I needed to verify my darkest worries. Then the last dagger to my heart. Her notes to her sweetheart Michael. Olivia is looking forward at last being with you alone. My husband no excites me anymore. I feel alive thanks to you. My jaw hurt from how firmly I clenched my teeth. She repugged herself. She was clueless, though, since I was already 10 steps ahead. Like nothing happened, I was going to let her return home. I was making sure she had nowhere to go back to when she was out acting a free lady. I gave a locksmith a ring. You can replace the locks how quickly? The man answered early next morning. Perfect. I then placed a front door new nameplate order, one that showed just my name. Olivia's name is vanished, wiped off, as though she never really existed. I was supposed to let her experience what I did. Incredibly replaceable. That evening she was shining when she returned home. The confidence. Hello, sweetheart. She chirped, as though she had not simply gone on another date with another man. I started to smile under duress. Hello? Dinner turned out how? Her gaze gleamed. Oh, it was nice. I gestured. Glad to hear it. She stopped since she felt something was wrong. You all right? I went up to gently kiss her forehead. Surely, sweetheart. She laughed, glad. She had no idea her whole world would collapse by tomorrow. She had no idea she was going to lose everything. Olivia had an annoyingly nice attitude the next morning. She hummed herself in the kitchen making coffee as though she hadn't just split our marriage apart. She felt she was in control. She felt she had me curled around her finger, that I would back off like a devoted, pitiful spouse while she investigated her exhilaration. She had no idea what was ahead. I sat opposite her and gently stirred my coffee. What then are any plans today? She hesitated, then looked at me. Oh, just work stuff. She lied. I knew exactly her intended path. Already, I had her whole weekend scheduled. Sounds great, I said with ease. She grinned, most likely glad I wasn't arguing with her on this. She confused my silence for approval. She made her first error there. I gave my attorney a call that evening. I informed him I wanted a divorce. My voice lacked feeling. Recognized, he answered. Are you carrying any evidence of adultery? I grinned more than enough. I forwarded to him the text messages, the travel itinerary, and recordings of her defending her behavior. My attorney said, this is ideal. This guarantees you take everything with you. Good, since I wasn't simply heading out. I carried with me all she prized. Saturday morning dawned and Olivia was bursting with enthusiasm. She was shining, almost bouncing about the house, packing for her small weekend trip. She even walked up to kiss my cheek with such arrogance. She mocked, winking, not waiting around. I forced a grin. I would not dream of it. She considered herself entering the best weekend of her life. She was strolling in her own collapse and had no idea. I started acting the instant her car turned away. Within 1 hour, the locksmith showed up. New locks, new keys, new realities. I then cleared the house of every last hint of her. Her clothes, personal belongings, name from every bill, account, legal document. I corrected everything. She sought freedom. Great. She was free. From this house, from the life she so readily tossed away, free from me. I was not stopping at merely tossing her aside. She must experience the results. I thus forwarded the screenshots and recordings to her boss, best friends and family, as well as to her. I maintained simplicity. You ought to know then what kind of person Olivia truly is. My phone exploded in calls and texts in a few minutes. Her mother. Is this actually happening? Olivia never did. Her companion of best nature. Oh gosh. What the devil is she contemplating? She reported to her boss. We should have a serious conversation on her behavior professionally. Ideal. She arrived home on Sunday night. Correction. She made a try to get home. She played about with her keys, panic replacing uncertainty when none of them worked. Screaming my name, she hammered on the door. I gave it some time. I let her endure. Let her consider the weight of her actions. At last, I opened the window and leaned out, my face icy and disconnected. Looking at the nameplate, I said. She turned, peering at the door. Her face collapsed when she realized her name vanished. She choked out, "This isn't funny," I answered, not as lighthearted as a joke. "You were looking for this. Your emancipation." Her eyes became blank with panic. "Not sure. Kindly let me in. I'm free to explain." I waved, not enthusiastic. She, sobbing, collapsed against the door. Right. Let her experience it. Let her to sink in it. She begged and pleaded for an hour following this. She swore she was sorry, that she had made a mistake, that she loved me. "You don't get to cheat and then come home like nothing happened," I stated sharply. But still. I went to lift my phone. "Keep on talking, Olivia. I'll make sure your job, parents, and every single person you know has first-row access to your collapse from here." Her face came devoid of color. Checking mate. She experimented with one last trick. Tears, sensual appeal, promises of transformation. I decided not to buy it. "You already had fun," I said. "You will now be living with the results." She gasped at my arm, grasping. Kindly, I yanked away. "We are done. Now get away." She paused. "To where will I be going?" I chuckled. Not in my purview. Her self-serving behavior had devastated us. She could now cope with the debris by herself. 2 days later, the divorce paperwork showed up at her workplace. She first turned away from signing. She pleaded with me to think twice. I refrained from, "You made your bed." I looked at her from below. "Now lie within it." She went broke. She now owned nothing at all. And I experienced tranquilly for the first time. Olivia did not only lose me, she lost everything. There was quick and severe blowback. Her family let out frightened screams. Her mother insisted on not even talking to her. Her supervisor let her go right away. Actually, sleeping with a co-worker while married does not exactly reflect professionalism. And Michael? Her sweetheart left her the instant things became disorganized. He was a coward, a man driven more by excitement than by responsibility. Second, Olivia's life collapsed. She was ghosted. She had no job, no husband, no house, and no affair partner to run to now. She was utterly alone. She dialed me, repeatedly. I turned aside every call and every note. She first showed up at my company one day. I ought to have thrown security her way. But I actually met her in the parking lot. Crossed arms, she stood there unkempt and hopeless. Tears tore over her face. "Please, just chat with me." I uttered no words at all. I slipped. She started to cry. I should have never been that dumb. God. I give an eyebrow. "You consider?" "I will do anything," she said. "I will be the ideal bride. I will arrange it for you." Empathetic? I stepped forward. "Quietly," Olivia said. "What precisely do you believe to be happening now?" She blinked, expecting something. "Will we make corrections for this?" I laughed politely, coldly. "Not at all. I left seeing your life disintegrate." Her face started to wrinkle. "You craved thrills. I brought her back to memory." "Oh, congrats." "That's right." She, sobbing, sank to her knees. I turned to walk away. My payback went beyond simply kicking her out. It concerned ensuring she never recovered. She experimented with house sharing among pals. None of them, meantime, wanted anything to do with her. She looked into starting a new career, but following the affair, nobody would hire her. She had damaged her own self. And I did well. Fresh employment, new house, fresh beginning, and at last, a new woman. Months later, I ran across Olivia in a coffee cafe. She gave a broken glance. Her haircut was messy, her garments frayed. She noticed me second, her eyes ablaze with frantic hope. "Could we perhaps chat?" she begged. I grumbled. "Olivia's. Not much else to say here." She let out a hard swallow. "You were seeing someone?" I graced a smile. "Yes." Her face dropped. But we, Number, I spoke with great conviction. "We do not exist." She trembled. "Do you still find me beautiful?" Looking her in the eyes, I spoke the words that wrecked her. "I hardly remember loving you either." She started to choke back a sob. "I lost everything," she said softly. I answered by nodding. "Certainly. And you are due for it." I turned away without another look as well. Her penalty was not only loss of me. Knowing she could never get me back made all the difference. The divorce was at last completed. She tried resisting it, but given all the facts, she had no case. She lost all in the settlement. Her state of financial stability? Gone. Her reputation wrecked. Her marriage? Overlooking. She had come to a decision. I had made mine as well. I opted to turn away and never turn around. Since actual retribution is what's sought, is realizing that for the rest of her life she will regret her decisions every single day? It was the first time in years I felt free. Not more falsehoods, not more treachery, just myself, my future, and limitless opportunities. And Olivia? Her longing to have never thrown me away would define her lifetime. Still, I was already far too gone. She vanished from my life permanently. Months elapsed. Olivia? She was ghost in our former social circles. Word of what she had accomplished got out there. She tried dating once again, but no one appealed as her second option. She attempted getting in touch to former friends, but they had nothing to do with her. She had excavated her personal tomb. She was also compelled to inhabit it. One evening I got a letter in the mail, drawing from Olivia. Though I argued about throwing it away, curiosity triumphed. I accessed it. I damaged everything. I have nothing to deserve pardon. "Still, I need you to know," I mumbled. "And I shall always regret what I did." I laughed. "Decent. She ought to feel bad about it. But forgiveness? That is never going to come." 1 year later, I sent Olivia a wedding invitation. Not for her being there specifically, to let her know I had moved on. She never responded, but I picked it up via the grapevine. She shed tears for several days. Perfect. I rushed in her last time. She hardly recognized herself. "Please find me joyful," she asked in a quiet voice. "Very," I said. She let out a hard swallow. "I dream." I severed her from all around. Right late. And I turned to leave exactly like that. Good for good. Olivia's collapse was not only a passing effect, it was total destruction. She shed everything. She looked at a new employment. Her former company, however, had already made public her disrespectful actions. No business wanted someone who had slept with a married co-worker before public shame. She experimented with house sharing with friends. Nobody, though, wanted to absorb someone who had turned on the person she most loved. She's parents? I embarrassed her. Not even let her remain in their house. Not sure what she had done. Embarrassed. She did not have a house, neither a spouse, not a career at all, nothing. Furthermore, I was still getting started. Olivia felt her humiliation stopped with her losing me. Wrong. News of her treachery got out. By means of shared friends, colleagues, even social media. Whispering behind her back were people. Some laughed straight out of disgust. She went back to trying dating. Every possible mate, though, soon found her past. You the one who got kicked out after cheating on your husband? Apparently one man asked her on a date. She cried as she departed. Her standing, damaged beyond repair. Nobody wanted to treat her seriously going forward. She was not appealing, thrilling, or sought for anymore. She served as a warning, an instruction, an amusing joke. And I really flourished. One evening I get a letter in the mail. I knew right away the penmanship. Olivia? I nearly toss it aside. But I let curiosity rule me. I went to open it. I wrecked it all. You do not owe me your pardon, and I am aware of as well. Still, I need you to know, I mumbled, and I shall always regret what I did. The best thing that ever came about for me was you. I also deleted it. I never anticipate you to ever talk to me once more. But kindly, know that for the rest of my life I shall despise myself for this. I raised a smile. Decent. She ought to come to regret it. But pardon? She would never get from me that. 1 year later, my life had totally turned around. New house, fresh job, novel love. I possess one. Olivia also? She was drowning in her own errors still. I invited her to my wedding so she can be sure she really knew what she had lost. Not for her presence there either, for I wanted her to recognize her replaceability. She never said anything. But I learned via close friends that she spent days crying. Superior. One last time I ran upon Olivia. She was a shadow of the lady I used to know. Sleepy eyes. Stress's weight loss a hollow reply. You're glad? She asked in a quiet voice. Very, I said. She let out a hard swallow. I dream. I severed her from all around, sadly late, and I turned to go exactly like that. For decent. Since actual retribution is what's sought. It was not only reclaiming my life. Knowing she would come to regret losing me for the rest of hers was motivating.